Hi, today my presentation is going to be comparing and contrasting the film and book version of Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. So, C.S. Lewis wrote The Voyage of the Dawn Treader in 1952 as a part of his series, The Chronicles of Narnia, and The Voyage of the Dawn Treader is the fifth book in that series. The film of the same name was made about 9 years ago and is about the two Pevensies, Edmund and Lucy, and their cousin Eustace, and they fall through an enchanted picture frame at Eustace's house into the world of Narnia, where they find themselves on the Dawn Treader with King Caspian, and they're on a quest. And depending on whether you're reading the book or watching the movie, the quest varies a little bit, and we'll get into that. So this quest, at least the purpose of their quest, in the book, they are trying to find the 7 lost lords of Narnia, who are the lords who were friends with Caspian's father, and they're also, another part of their journey is they're trying to sail to the eastern end of the world, to Aslan's country. So those are the two main points. In the film, those two are in there, but in addition, they are also trying to stop this green mist, which is infecting the islands, and it's just an added plot element that makes the story a little more interesting, a little more complicated, because they're trying to find these lords and use their swords, gather them to Aslan's table in order to stop this green mist, this curse that is spreading throughout the islands in the ocean. So one of the islands they go to is Dragon Island. And on this island, in both the book and the movie, Eustace steals gold and he turns into a dragon. He wakes up and he's a dragon. And the other thing that happens in both the film and the book is that he is transformed back into a boy by Aslan. He comes and restores him to his original self. But he's a little reformed. He becomes a better person. But what happens in the book specifically? Because the details, it's all in the details. So Caspian and his crew approach Eustace as a dragon, and they see him, and they see this dragon in between them and their ship. They can't get to the ship without passing him. So they accept, we can't fight this dragon, we're going to lose. So they approach him, and then they discover that he's Eustace when they are speaking, and he starts responding to them. And they deduce that it's Eustace by asking him questions. They say, "Are you a lord?" He says, "No." "Are you a person?" He says, "Yes." Then they figure out it's Eustace. And so Eustace returns to being a boy by Aslan appearing to him in kind of a dream state, and he prompts Eustace, "Scratch off your skin." Eustace tries 3 times. Aslan says, "You can't do it. Let me dig deeper for you." And so Aslan physically scratches Eustace's dragon skin off of him, takes his small, scrawny self, throws him into a pool where he is then cleansed and restored to not only being a boy, but also to being a better version of himself, which I find incredibly beautiful. And that beauty's a little lost in the film. It's a lot more rough and tough fighting. And so Caspian and his crew actually attack Eustace as a dragon before they know it is him. And Eustace reveals his identity by picking up Edmund, taking him over a valley where he is scorched into the earth. "I am Eustace." And that's how they discover, oh, we shouldn't fight this dragon. He's our friend. And Eustace is transformed into a boy, also in a dreamlike state, but he's on a beach. And Aslan, instead of having Eustace struggle and learn that he needs to accept help, Aslan just scratches into the sand with his paw 3 times, and there's this magical embers on Eustace where you can see Aslan is indeed scratching into him, and then Aslan roars, and then the dragon body splits apart, and then there's Eustace, and he wakes up in a different place like a dream. So there's an element that's lost in that in the exchange in the book, I think, during the film version at least. So another thing that is universal across both the book and the movie is that there are internal struggles that the characters face. Caspian has to deal with his pride and ambition as a king, that he has to humble himself and accept that as a king he can't do everything, and that he's a servant to Narnia. He has to give up some of his own desires in order to be a good king. Eustace, obviously with his greed, stealing the gold and being very selfish throughout the whole thing until his conversion as a dragon back into a boy. He learns to humble himself, or not humble himself, but understand that everything's not about him. Lucy struggles with envy and fear. She wants to be beautiful like her sister, and she wants to know about things that she shouldn't, like her friends' opinions of her at home, things like that. And so those are compatible in both the book and the movie. You find those in both. But the difference is in the film, all of these struggles that they face, that they have to overcome, these temptations they're faced with, is attributed to this green mist that they're trying to stop. This mist is an added plot point, and it's a representation of the struggles they face, I think, but also in the story it's construed as something that is causing their downfalls and their personal failings. And I think by having this in there, it's implying that without this mist, perhaps these struggles and personal foibles wouldn't be there, that instead of these personal issues being their own and something that's coming from within, it's actually an outside presence that's making their time more difficult and their journey more problematic. So the other thing that I think really ties it together is their endings. Both their endings are really similar. There's not a lot of change from the book to the film adaptation. So in both the book and the film, they arrive to the eastern end of the world. They come to Aslan's country, and Edmund and Lucy are told that this is their last adventure in Narnia. Eustace is said he will return. Caspian wants to go with them. He wants to see Aslan's country, but Aslan says, no, you have to go back. You have to be a good king. You have to return to your country. So they do, and Edmund and Lucy and Eustace, they go back through the painting, and they're back upstairs in the bedroom where they began, which I think is really cool, and I think they did a good job in the film of portraying that final scene in the book. So, yeah, that's my comparisons and contrasts of the book to the movie of The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. So thank you so much for tuning in.